So we're going to get rolling now. Thanks for your patience. I'm Jamie Court. I'm president of Consumer Watchdog. With me is Carmen Balber, our executive director, and Michele Monserratt, who is going to talk about a very sad and tragic situation that befell her because we didn't have the patient safety protections of Prop 45 in place. And then we're going to release an ad that is now playing on TV to let the public know that there are patient safety protections that they can vote on in November, Prop 46. And Prop 46 is all about protecting patients like Michelle's fiancée from dangerous doctors, doctors who are impaired, and substance abusers. Because we know now that at any given time, roughly 2% of the state's doctors have a substance abuse problem. And doctors with substance abuse problems put patients at risk. Prop 45 requires that when an impaired doctor on duty is uncovered through a random drug test, that the medical board will suspend their license pending an investigation so that they can get treatment or there can be a disciplinary action, but they're not putting patients at risk. And today is National Recovery Month, but it's also National Recovery Day at the White House, where they are discussing how we can talk openly about addiction among doctors, detect dangerous behavior, and get doctors who are threatening patients into therapy, into treatment, and if they're repeat offenders, out of medicine. Because no patient should have to wonder whether the doctor who holds their life in their hand is a drug addict or an alcohol abuser. Prop 45 will save, Prop 46 will save lives, Prop 46 will save lives by making sure that doctors are detected when they abuse substance and also deterred, because if you're an airline pilot today, you face random drug testing and suspension of your license if you are found drinking or high on the job. Doctors should face the same standards, and that's what Prop 46 does. It also evens the playing field by helping patients like Michele get access to justice when their loved ones are victimized by impaired doctors, because today patients are locked out of the legal system because we have such a low cap on damages. And I'll let Michele talk, and maybe Carmen can talk a little bit about the legal aspects of the limits for patients, and then we'll play the ad that is now airing, which features Dr. Stephen Loyd, who is one of the only doctors in America who's been very open about his addiction, is in favor of Prop 46, and believes we should have random drug testing for all doctors across America, not only in California, because it will save lives. So I'm going to let Michele talk a little bit about what happened to her fiancé, Lloyd, who was a rising young political star, and he died needlessly at the age of 36. And we know the physician who was negligent in the matter was a substance abuser. So, Michele, can I bring you up? Thanks.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Michele Monserratt-Ramos. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm here today to talk about my late fiancé, Lloyd Monserratt. Also to explain why I support yes on Prop 46. Lloyd Monserratt was an amazing man. He was a gifted leader. He was a community leader and a political leader. In fact, a few years back, the city of Los Angeles dedicated a city library, Del Sereno Branch, in his memory on this day, September 17th. Lloyd was a Latino vote director for the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee. He was a director for NALEO. He was a chief of staff for a Los Angeles City Council member and an LAUSD school board member, and a political consultant for many grassroots candidates and elected officials. And even his first job out of college after graduating from UCLA, he organized nurses out of SCIU Local 660, out of County USC Medical Center. Lloyd made an impact. He made an impact in California and Los Angeles, yet when Lloyd walked into that Los Angeles hospital, he never walked out again. He died 3 days following elective surgery with no cause given for his death. I saw his doctor following the surgery. The doctor came out and told me that his surgery was a success and that Lloyd was very strong. I didn't see his doctor again until Lloyd died. There was another doctor that came in the night before Lloyd died, and I asked him, "Doctor, tell me, how is Lloyd progressing? Is he progressing normally?" And he told me yes. He looked at my face and he said, "Yes, he's progressing normally. He's exactly where he should be." The sad reality was, when you looked at Lloyd's medical records, tests showed earlier that day that Lloyd was already in kidney failure. Yet, Lloyd's doctor nor anyone in the hospital felt the need to tell Lloyd or me Lloyd's true condition. The next day, they received a call nobody wants to receive. The call from the hospital that tells you, report to the hospital immediately. I went to the hospital. Lloyd was gone. His bed was gone. I was told they were taking care of him in ICU. I went to ICU, and the doctor walked in my path and escorted me to a side room. And there, the doctor told me that they did everything they could, but they couldn't save him. I thought, how could this be? Lloyd was only 36 years old. He didn't come in here with cancer. He wasn't here for emergency surgery. And I looked at the doctor who told me this, and I thought, wait a minute. You're the same doctor that was in Lloyd's room last night. And he told me that Lloyd was exactly where he should be. What happened? Tell me from the top. What happened? And this doctor kept telling me the same thing. He would never give me cause for Lloyd's death. Before long, a hospital administrator came and ripped this form in my face and told me, most families want to know. It was an authorization for an autopsy. At this point, I was on the floor. I was crushed in despair. And I thought at that moment, I could stay on the floor crushed, or I could get up. I could stand up and I could find out exactly what happened to Lloyd in that hospital. So I hired a pathologist, had a private autopsy done, and waited for the results, and called the coroner's office and waited for the results. It was determined that Lloyd died due to surgical mistakes, infection, and ultimately advanced peritonitis or severe sepsis. What do you do in a situation like that? I needed answers, but the hospital wasn't giving me any. So I thought, I tried to find a lawyer. I need answers. I need to know what happens in that hospital. So I spoke to some political friends. They gave me some referrals. And we met with several lawyers. And several lawyers told us, after looking at Lloyd's medical records, you definitely have a case, but I don't know if you know this law that imposes caps on medical malpractice cases. And because of this law, I'm sorry, it would be a bad business decision to take Lloyd's case. Believe me, you don't ever want to hear that the person that you love the most in life, that their life and their death is a bad business decision. Eventually, we did get a lawyer, and following the first round of legal, it was determined that Lloyd's doctor may have an arrest record. So I went several courthouses, did public record searches, came up with 3 arrest records. Lloyd's doctor was arrested 3 times, all while he held a license to practice medicine in the state of California, with one of those arrest records being felony possession of crack cocaine. I felt like Lloyd was victimized all over again. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that the state allowed doctors like this to continue practicing. The bottom line is that Lloyd had no right to know that his doctor had a drug problem. Had Lloyd had the right to know, basically, since he didn't have the right to know, it cost Lloyd his life. And I think Lloyd had the right to know. And that's what Prop 46 will do. It'll create checks and balances that come along with random drug testing. So, if a doctor tests positive, they won't be allowed to operate. They'll have to cease practice. And it helps everyone. It helps the patient. The patient doesn't run the risk of potential harm from a substance abusing physician. And it helps the doctor. The doctor will be forced. So he'll have to undergo random drug testing, and the doctor will be forced to get help to take care of his addiction. It helps everyone. I think Lloyd had the right to know. And I think whoever it is that you love the most in life, whether it's your spouse, your partner, your child, I think they have the right to know too. That's why I'm asking for your support, your yes vote on Prop 46. Thank you.
Thank you, Michele. I'm just going to let Carmen Balver explain, our Executive Director of Consumer Watchdog, how, when someone is a victim of medical negligence, and often impairment is an issue, but it's just not clear because there is no drug testing in this state, because there is no drug testing after an adverse event in this state, that there is a legal barrier to getting to the court system to try to get the type of answers that Michele, being very determined, did get. Prop 46 does create mandatory random drug testing, but it also creates a drug testing after an adverse event. So Michele would have known within 12 hours if there was crack cocaine in the system of the physician. So Carmen, can you maybe just talk a little about the piece of the cap on damages and what it means for patients like Michele?
Thanks, Jamie. I'm Carmen Balver. I'm the Executive Director of Consumer Watchdog. What Michele experienced when she tried to find an attorney for answers in the case of Lloyd's death happens to too many patients in California. A law set 38 years ago that caps damages in medical negligence cases means many patients never are able to even get an attorney, let alone find answers about the cause of their loved one's death. This cap says the life of a child, the life of your parent, the life of your disabled sibling is worth no more than $250,000 under the law. And that amount has not been adjusted for inflation in 38 years. The question, I guess, is, well, why does that lock people out of the court? And the reason is because a medical negligence case is a complicated and very expensive endeavor. It will cost you $100,000 or more to get to court if you choose to bring a medical negligence case. That means that you pay $100,000 for your court fees and your experts. You have to pay for your attorney after that. And out of $250,000, you may get $10,000, $20,000 in return if you're successful and if you receive the maximum under the law. That means in reality, most attorneys will turn down patients who have been harmed, family members who have lost their children, because they can't afford to take a case that will cost as much to bring as it will return. I do want to add just one other thing, and that's that Prop 46 is sponsored by Bob Pack, who experienced the same difficulty finding an attorney when his two young children, Troy and Alana, who were 10 and 7, were run down on the side of a road. He went to multiple attorneys who told him the same thing. Your children's lives are only worth $250,000. We can't afford to bring this case. Bob also learned in the course of that investigation that the woman who ran down his children was high on Vicodin and vodka. She passed out the wheel. She passed out at the wheel, and that's what caused Troy and Alana's deaths. That woman had been overprescribed, recklessly prescribed, thousands of pills by multiple doctors at the same Kaiser hospital who had never bothered to check a medical record or to find out that the woman actually needed the pills that they were prescribing. And because of that negligence by those doctors and overprescribing to this woman, Bob lost his children. So Proposition 46 also would require doctors to check a patient's prescription history for the first time when they're prescribing a narcotic like Vicodin or OxyContin. And that will save lives just as testing doctors for drugs will save lives as well. Turn it over to the ads.
Well, before you play it, let me just say one thing. There are those, particularly our opponents, who say this is about trial lawyers and doctors. That's a huge lie. This is about patients, and this is about patient safety, and that's all this is about. And the failure of the medical establishment and the medical malpractice insurers who are contributing more than 75% of the money to fight Prop 46 to acknowledge that people who have lost loved ones through legitimate medical negligence because of substance abuse, because of overprescribing, are not entitled to a real debate about their issues is offensive and appalling. And that arrogance demonstrated by the doctors who are supposed to do no harm shows exactly why we need Prop 46, because they will never police themselves. They will never police themselves because they won't even acknowledge there's a problem. They won't even acknowledge Michele exists, or Bob Pack exists, or the dozens of other patients all around the state who are with us exist. So this ad is really extraordinary because it is a doctor speaking out for Prop 46 because he knew what kind of harm he could have caused through his addiction. And so Dr. Stephen Loyd is a White House. He works as an internist. He works with the White House National Office of Drug Policy Control. Today he's at the White House for National Recovery Month. They're having National Recovery Day there to tweet and discuss this issue. And we're releasing an ad that has been playing actually since Sunday at the Giants-Dodgers game up in San Francisco and in L.A. And some other major markets, and also online, where Stephen Loyd, Dr. Loyd, talks about his addiction and why we need Prop 46. And I really think this is a tremendous physician with tremendous courage. But the fact that there is only really one or two doctors in America who openly speak about addiction when we know that there's 2% of doctors who have addiction problems at any given time is really a testament to why we need Prop 46. We need to detect the addiction and impairment by doctors. We need to deter the overprescribing, and we need to give access to justice for victims so they can also get not only a compensation in their day in court, but so that those doctors can be held accountable because the medical board's not doing it. So let me play this ad from Dr. Loyd on National Recovery Day so that we can take a step forward changing this with Prop 46. For those of you online, it's at consumerwatchdog.org. If you just go to our press release, that the Dr. Loyd ad is up, and it should also be on yeson46.org by now, but it's certainly at consumerwatchdog.org. And we're just going to play it for the folks here. I'm a doctor of internal medicine. Something terrible to admit. I've treated thousands of patients, risked their lives, while high on prescription drugs. I was an addict. I'm recovered now. But an estimated 500,000 medical professionals are still out there using drugs or alcohol. Police, airline pilots, bus drivers, they're randomly tested for drugs and alcohol, but not us doctors. You can change that. Vote yes on Proposition 46. Your lives are in our hands. So we will take questions in a second. I just wanted to reiterate that this initiative simply requires doctors to be drug tested the way pilots are, the way other transportation workers are, bus drivers, and it also requires that they be tested not only on a random basis but after an adverse event. And there's a suspension of their license, but after that, whether they go to treatment, whatever happens, is up to their individual circumstance. As Michele said, we want doctors to get help. I think Dr. Loyd wants doctors to get help. We all want doctors to get help if they can be recovered. But one aspect of the story that Michele didn't say much about was that this doctor had been in and out of a diversion program, correct? Which is a program created by the state to theoretically treat doctors years ago. And after 5 critical audits, the legislature shut it down. Because doctors were going in and out like a revolving door. They were never being reported to the medical board, and no one was telling the patients. And that type of program is something that we actually, want in terms of rehabilitation and recovery, but it has to be with accountability. Today in California, believe it or not, the medical board cannot order a drug test for a doctor, even if they have evidence of abuse, because they first have to go through a process of basically bringing a case and lodging an allegation that takes years and get a final result to that they can then hold over the doctor's head so he can be drug tested on as a probation or as a condition of not losing his license. But the medical board cannot say to a doctor who they suspect of alcohol or drug abuse, be drug tested. The doctor can refuse it. He can refuse it. That is outrageous. And that's been the state since 2008 when the plug was pulled on the diversion program because it was so corrupt and full of recidivists. And no one's bothered to deal with this. Prop 46 will deal with it, and it is a real issue. So let me open, anyone in the room have a question before we go to the phones? Oh, yeah, we can. Michele will be available afterwards for one-on-one interview if we're here. So let me open up the phone lines, and we are lower tech, lower budget than the other side. So I'm going to take the lecture mode off, but anybody wants to ask a question, you have to ask one at a time. Okay, so anybody on the line would like to ask a question? No? Okay. Well, Carmen, do you want to just talk about where the ads are running, and we'll end it? And people want to chime in online, you know how to reach us at the top of the press release.
Yeah, the ads are, this is the second ad from the Yes on 46 campaign. A few weeks ago, we released the first ad, which was Senator Barbara Boxer talking about why she's been a fighter to change patient safety laws in California for many, many years. This one is running, of course, online. It's also running in the Bay Area. Next week it goes up in Monterey and Sacramento and then Los Angeles.
This week is the first time there have been ads. So on our side, the other side's been running ads since August 16th. So now the public's going to be hearing from the patients and the doctor. Thank you so much.